So we've been doing this whole vlog thing.
Oh, are we doing this?
Yeah, we are.
Sorry.
We did this whole vlog thing, and I'm liking it. I'm liking how we're sort of doing it right now, sort of trading off. Not that there's like a schedule, but, you know, I kind of like what we've got going on. But right now, we are having a back and forth with our boss over at After Schmo, Christian Harloff. And I put up this video talking about this bet that I made with him.
Yeah.
He's sort of going back on it. I think he's going back on it.
Let's talk about the actual bet at hand. So everyone, well, maybe not everyone, our audience might not have any idea that this is going on because we don't really get sporty on here. But Conor McGregor, MMA fighter, there's been a lot of banter about a fight between him and Floyd Mayweather.
It's going to be one of the biggest sporting events to happen in this decade.
And for a long time, it was just a lot of noise. A lot of people wanted it to happen, thought about it happening, but it never really had weight to it until this past week, right? When it was actually fully announced.
Yeah, I mean, people were speculating about it because there was a lot of chatter going on that both parties wanted it to happen, but now it's actually been nailed down. It's a for sure thing. The ridiculous thing about it is just the fact that Floyd Mayweather, arguably one of the best boxers of all time, 49-0, is going to be fighting somebody who I don't think has any professional boxing fights. I mean, he's an MMA fighter, and I think that's where the wackiness comes into play here.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about boxing? Welcome to Sight and Sound Sports. What year is this, 2020? When our empire has grown?
Sorry. You said we're in the middle of this back and forth, and I'm just...
What's going on? What is he saying?
He's backed me into a corner. He has a comeback for everything I say. I can't say it.
Of course, he's a comedian.
I can't say it out loud. But I'll say you afterwards.
Okay.
During the break. But essentially, talking about the bet itself, you and him had a conversation about...
Well, look, I know... I've been a fan of MMA for a very long time. The very first podcast I ever had was an MMA podcast, and MMA podcasts that existed back then inspired me to podcast in general. And
okay, all of this was on the blog.
It was on the vlog, and I asked Christian, because I know he's a fan of boxing and MMA as well, what his thoughts on the fight were, and I was actually shocked a little bit to hear that he was just, like a lot of people are, just completely writing it off, just completely saying that it's stupid, that McGregor doesn't stand a chance, and just that the fight happening is stupid in general. But, I mean, I think it's a little bit silly to just say that there are zero chances. I mean, be realistic. There are chances, and I think that there are real strong chances that it could happen. I mean, if you look at factual information, statistics, like I said on my blog, excuse me, then
your blog,
my vlog.
I would love to see a blog written by you.
I think it's a decent case. I mean, if you just lay it out there, of course he's a huge underdog.
To answer your question, you asked me what I thought about boxing. I think boxing, it makes a ton of money, but overall, I think it is, I don't want to say dying sport, but it's not as big as it used to be.
Oh, 100%.
And
it is on the rise. And it is coming back, and not even beyond the Manny Pacquiao's, the Floyd Mayweather stuff.
From my perspective, it's something that's just kind of like, it's almost become a niche in a way. That's my perspective. And like, of course, with MMA, that's usually the topic of conversation.
I think it's replaced MMA, where MMA used to be...
MMA replaced boxing.
Well, I think, yes, I think they flip-flopped.
So,
because
yeah.
MMA at one point was the niche sport, so to speak.
Right.
And now it's more in the mainstream so than boxing is.
I think this is exactly what boxing needs. And
100%.
I think people are afraid. A lot of the traditionalists are like, what does this come to? It's just not a gimmick, I guess is the word that they want to use, but
it is a gimmick. It is a gimmick, 100%.
But I think I'm very interested by this. I think stuff like this should happen more, to be honest. I mean,
absolutely.
And in a way, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. This is more of a proposal, not a statement from me. But it kind of falls in line with what MMA is all about, right? Which is the
100%.
MMA is what's embracing of all the different fighting styles.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's just really, really, really intriguing. And I know, again, the boxing is sort of the older sport, so there's probably a lot of people that are afraid that this is, again, going on the for the worst as far as the sport of boxing goes. But I actually think it's exactly what we need right now, especially for someone like me.
Yes,
I'm so down for this.
The crossover, the casual fan, sort of thing. And look, it's strange. I love the sport of mixed martial arts. I think the UFC are in a terrible place right now, a really, really bad place. And I think this is just great for both sports in general. Look, the thing that's driving me crazy, I'm not an expert at all. At all. I listen to a podcast about mixed martial arts, maybe 3, or at least that touches on mixed martial arts, about 3 to 4 times a week.
And I listen to you talk about the podcast, not what the podcast talks about.
Exactly.
So I know even less than you.
Exactly. But my point is I'm starting to see people come out of the woodworks that are also not experts and that don't even do what I do and just already having the answer.
Yeah.
And yes, 100%. This dude is an underdog, and he should be an underdog, and he is stepping into a world against arguably one of the best boxers of all time. But like I've already said, it's like saying, I don't know. I don't want to make comparisons or anything, but it's silly. It's silly to completely disregard it.
Actually, I want to go back on what I said a second ago. I think something like this can appeal to our audience more than, say, boxing alone or MMA alone.
Absolutely.
I mean, primarily based off of curiosity. That's what's going to get me to watch this match.
Okay, I have to say this.
And the bet at hand.
I have to say this. What are you aware of Conor McGregor?
Not a lot.
Okay.
So growing up, my father was very involved. Well, when he grew up, he was involved in martial arts, and like some of his heroes are Bruce Lee, and that's why I love Bruce Lee so much.
Right.
He was really into martial arts, and he also was the reason why I grew up loving wrestling, WWF, WWE, whatever. So I remember when MMA started growing, and I was introduced to the Gracie family and what Ken Shamrock was doing in the Lion's Den. And I wasn't into it per se, but I was aware of it, and I watched him watch this type of stuff, and he had VHS tapes of a lot of these matches. So I'm aware. I remember like fighters like Tank Abbott.
Of course.
Like I remember those guys growing up.
Frank Shamrock, Ken Shamrock.
Yeah. Didn't I said Shamrocks?
Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
I said Shamrock and the Lion's Den, all that stuff going on.
I was adjusting my
e-cigarette. So anyway, I remember a lot of that in the early days, and mostly just kind of been a spectator. I know a lot of people that are involved that go to watch these matches at B-dubs and all this. Buffalo Wild Wings, for those of you who've never heard the term B-dubs. So anyway, I am sort of an outsider, but very much aware of the impact that Tap Out has had on frat boys.
Well, Tap Out in general is pretty much done. Well, it's not really done, but they've gone dramatically down. But here's the thing I need to tell you as a casual fan that's going to be 10 million times more entertaining than the fight itself. The build-up, the lead-up to this fight, Floyd Mayweather is a good shit talker.
Yeah.
You want to talk about somebody coming out of their league to compete? He has never even seen somebody at the level of how Conor McGregor talks shit. I mean, this guy is up there with Muhammad Ali in terms of how good of a shit talker he is. I mean, Muhammad Ali is the best, 100%.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. But Conor McGregor is fucking fantastic. and it is going to be wild.
Yeah.
I mean, really wild.
Yeah.
This is a very extravagant Irish young man who is younger than me. He's 28 years old. So I'm excited for it. I definitely am.
Let's cap the discussion off with the bet at hand.
I know,
because we got to get creative.
I just wanted to give people a preview of Sight and Sound Sports that's coming. And
yeah, absolutely.
in a decade.
Yeah, I have a lot of 30 for 30s to watch before we do that, which is great because I love 30 for 30.
I didn't say I was going to host it. I'm just
okay.
saying when we're moguls, when we're on the top floor of Sight and Sound Towers, maybe on like the 8th floor is where we're going to be hiring people. Like that's where Eric Mulder's, what is it, Jams and Jams? That's where his sports podcast is going to be.
Anyway, the bet at hand, we got to get creative.
We do.
Christian doesn't want us to get creative, but I think we need to be creative. He wants it to be about money. We propose that you lick the back of your dog,
the bald back
and he said he bets like a man, which he's talking about money, but I don't want it to be straight cash. I mean, we can make a dollar amount, but something creative like plane ticket versus
maybe like buying $100 worth of Schmoes No gear to like give away to fans.
You're talking about benefiting other people. Yeah, he might be on board with
he'd be benefiting us. So.
We could give him free advertising of the Schmodown.
It would do nothing.
Yeah, I'll propose that to him. No, he was talking a lot of shit, and he backed me into a corner, so I finally had to just end the conversation with leave me alone.
Yeah.
Maybe I should let you handle. Maybe I should let Conor McGregor trash talk Christian Harloff because I'm not good at it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to transition into something else, and we didn't really talk about this off air. So I sort of teased this this project that I've been working on for literally the last probably 5 years. Something that I've been planning for a long time, and Ryan's now sort of helping me, and we're close to launching it. Should we discuss it here? I kind of need to explain it, I feel like.
We can absolutely discuss it here.
Okay. So here's what's going on. You guys know that I love music, obviously. I'm the music guy here. But and you guys know that I have a music project called Separator. But for the last 5 years, I have dedicated a lot of my time to learning how to produce music. About 5 years ago, I started doing that. And here recently, I decided that I was going to amass all of the songs that I've written over these last 5 years. But anyway, so I've been making this music for a long time, and I've been saving it up. And I'm launching this thing called Tasty Jam. It's basically royalty-free music because I know that it can be hard, it can be difficult for YouTubers and podcasters and stuff to find good music. It can be expensive too if you're looking for stuff that's unique. But I just decided that I'm going to put out these songs for people to buy. And if you go to tastyjamstore.com, you can go buy a pack of 30 royalty-free instrumental songs for $5. That's what I'm going to do, which $5 is like what it would cost for one song. You have anything you want to say?
Well, I know that a lot of people in the past 7 months have asked, like, where'd you get that theme song? Talking about our Sight and Sound song.
Right.
You made that. And
did I? Yeah, I did.
You did make that. So I just think it's really cool. And I think a lot of people will get a lot out of it. I'm excited to play entrepreneur with you.
Absolutely.
Because that's something that I'm fascinated to learn a lot from this experience. And but yeah, I think it's going to be great. And I know that we
hashtag transparency real quick. I feel like I probably didn't explain it very well. In the middle of this, it might not have sounded like it, but I took a phone call that lasted like 10 minutes in the middle of me trying to explain this. So look, I'm going to drop an ad. We're going to go to break here in a second. I'll drop an ad and it will explain it a lot better.
I mean, Cliff Notes, tastyjamstore.com.
That's right.
You're going to release songs, groups of songs in packs, then a flat fee. So your first pack will be available on your store. It's going to be 30 songs, and it'll be $4.99. Is that what you priced it at?
It's $4.99, and if you want to hear them, there's little samplers there, a little YouTube video. You can check it out. And oh yeah, one other thing. If you guys out there have a podcast and you want some great theme music like we have, I'm going to do you one even better because I made
promo time
15 intro songs specifically made for intros on podcasts and intros on YouTube videos. $2.99 for 15 songs.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, and I like them. I enjoy them. I mean, I'm biased, but I do think they're pretty good. In fact, when we were listening to some of them, you were like, "Wait, don't sell that one. We could use that one. We could use that one in the future."
And
I was like, "Ryan,
I've used a couple. I have the privilege of having all these songs at my disposal in our drive. So I've been able to drop a few in our vlog videos.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anyway. They're great, and I hope a lot of people get a lot of use out of it. So it's
even
cool.
if you just want to get them and check them out and listen to them,
yeah,
I mean they're pretty good. So look, we're gonna go to break. You'll hear a little ad for it. It'll explain it way better than we did because it won't be interrupted by a phone call. So we're gonna take a break. We'll come back and we'll get into one of our 3 topics. Not sure what, but anyways, you're listening to Sight and Sound Weekly. We're going crazy here. Hey everyone, Jay Williams here from Sight and Sound and After Schmo. I've been creating content for a long time and I know how frustrating it can be to find and pay crazy money for royalty-free music. Some of you might know that I make music in my spare time. I'm here to tell you about my new service called Tasty Jam. I put together a pack of 30 royalty-free songs for you to use in your YouTube videos, podcasts, or even just to listen to. This is my gift to you as a fellow content creator. 30 instrumental, royalty-free songs over 2 hours of music for just $4.99. That's less than you would pay for just one song with other services. That's not where the fun ends, though. I will be dropping more packs all the time. I've also launched a mini pack of 15 theme songs specifically made as intro music for your content for just $2.99. I know those are crazy low numbers, but I'm just trying to do my part. Go to tastyjamstore.com right now to get your packs today and even preview the songs. Again, that's tastyjamstore.com to get your affordable royalty-free music today.
I don't think that we've done a good enough job teasing how packed this episode is going to be. I'm really, really excited to do this show.
It is kind of strange because, you know, we're about to get into music right now, and I've changed the music topic a few times, but I think I realized that this week was, again, kind of about just New Music Friday in general. So many huge things dropped on Friday, and I did my music episode, and I talked about a lot of them. I could have done that entire episode just on the new releases. I made it a little bit more brief than normal, but we are going to hit on a few things. We might bounce around here and there and talk a little bit more in depth about the big topic.
Music episode sure wasn't brief.
What was it? It was over an hour, like it is. Music episode's doing great. We're having a great time over there. You should host the music episode sometime.
I'm going to do the Our Last Night one, but I have to wait until next week because you're doing that interview with the guy.
Oh, no, I'm not, because what? That's going to be like a not Sight and Sound music. I mean, it's going to be a Sight and Sound music episode, but it'll
not
be
the Friday ep?
It'll be a bonus episode of that.
Oh boy, we're just filling up the schedule with all these music episodes.
I know.
Where's your movie episodes? I'm working on it.
You stole my bit. So let's get into music real quick. Did you check? We talked about 100th last week. Did you actually check the album out at all?
No.
Well, that's unfortunate.
I'm a little peeved at them right now. Once I get over that, I'll probably check out the album.
Yeah, if you guys missed it on Twitter, do we need to get into that?
I would love to.
Okay.
I talked about it in the vlog.
You had a vlog too, yeah.
But essentially, and this is just
pretty fucking hilarious.
From my perspective. Oh, by the way, this is something that we need to talk about in general.
Drinking a pineapple beer right now.
A lot of people asked us, and by a lot of people, I mean two people happened to ask us what was going on with the Sight and Sound bites.
Oh, yeah.
Well, here's the explanation, guys. When Sight and Sound came about early on, back when the YouTube channel was just the podcast and we hadn't really gotten in the habit of making videos, we decided to release the clips, the sections of Sight and Sound Weekly as its own audio clip. So we called them Sight and Sound Bites. Yeah, it's just going to be a piece of Sight and Sound Weekly, so it's not going to be anything new, but we like putting those out there. I think a lot of people might be turned off by the length of our episodes. Yeah. We also think that it's a great way to just kind of optimize our content on YouTube in general and get some outsiders
new people. Yeah. If you've listened to all of Sight and Sound Weekly, there's no reason for you to listen to that unless you're just like, you know what? I kind of fucking hate when they talk about TV, so I'm just going to talk or listen to this.
It does increase its shareability.
Absolutely.
Like if someone wanted to be like, hey, check out Sight and Sound, here's what they said about Black Panther. And it's just that 20-minute thing instead of the whole hour and a half, what have you. So Sight and Sound bites go up on our YouTube channel. Check them out. You'll see them. So I made one for our discussion on Hundredth that we had last week on Weekly. And
their new album, Rave.
Yeah, their new album, Rave. Or at least, so I thought. It's not called Rave, Jay.
It's not called Rave.
The album is called Rare, but what I ended up doing is making the thumbnail, and it says Rave on it, and then, of course, the YouTube video title said the 100th album was called Rave. I put it up. You messaged me. We had a good laugh. I changed it. But it takes a sec. I got it.
Well, there's a whole thing about Luke in this too.
Yeah, but I didn't find that out about until later.
Okay.
That's what I was getting to, though. So I published it, and Luke Jaggers, friend of the show, he quoted our link and tagged them in it while all of this was going on. So I had changed the title. I changed the thumbnail, but YouTube took a second for it to update. So if you clicked on our channel link, it still show up. If you embedded the link, it still show up that way, even though I changed it. So within that time, Hundredth gets a hold of the clip and calls me out, which is fine. I was wrong. I'm accepting of that. What peeved me,
the absurdity of it.
What really got to me is that they asked us to change it, and I was already in that process. I said, yeah, just give me time. They said since you're already changing things, here's an updated promo pic. So they sent me a new picture to make a new thumbnail, which would be easy, but when we make our audio clips, the thumbnail is the video. So I ended up taking it down and changing it all, exporting the video and uploading it all over again. And I just thought it was the strangest thing.
It's kind of a shit show.
Like, I just thought that was so weird. Like, well, here's this promo. And I don't know.
Like, they're our boss.
I didn't even know, like, is it because there was a bandmate in the first picture that's no longer with them? Like,
I think they thought that they were doing us a favor. Like, oh, here's an updated picture.
It's just odd.
But to us, we're like, fuck.
It just struck me as odd.
But the absurdity of the entire thing is the fact that I'm the guy that has the typos. I'm the guy that misspells things.
Yeah.
That's something I habitually do. But no, there was another element of this. Luke noticed that there was the misspelling, and he said, they're totally going to call you guys out. And as soon as he said that, I got the notification on my phone, and I screenshotted it and sent it to him and to you. And it was great. It was hilarious. But nonetheless, the album was fantastic. Listen to it. I will have a review up. Hopefully by the time you guys are hearing this, there will be a review already. But
maybe I'll listen to it.
Yeah, I think you should. Also, let's kick it off here. I want to spend a little bit of time, a majority of this segment, talking about the new Lorde album that came out called, is it Melodrama? Melodramatic? Something like that. Anyways, I should probably know.
I think it's Melodrama.
Anyways, let's talk about this new Plot in You song. I went on a rant with a capital R, a fucking rant on my music show about it. It lasted probably 6 minutes, and
a good rant?
A good rant regarding
Melodrama is the album.
Regarding this song and
it's fucking dope.
Its place in like the genre of music that they were.
Yeah.
Did you care much about this band beforehand?
No, but I did get to play with them on the Brave the Storm Farewell show.
Awesome. Yeah, I could not have cared less about this band.
That was about the time when I was leaving bands like that behind.
Right.
And eventually leaving the genre behind, of course. But
very paint by numbers, sort of beat downish metalcore.
They're in a way, they're very similar to sort of how we reacted to that new Attack song recently. Do you remember that new Attack song that we watched and we were like, wow, this is actually pretty good?
Attack?
Yeah, it was new Attack.
No.
They put up that song like Invincible and it was just the singer. We watched it together.
You know Mice and Men? Attack is no more. I was so confused. He means of mice and men. And yet you're right. You're right. That song, though, even still, even still a little bit more in their space. This is a change. This is a change with this band that is kind of an overhaul. Like they've overhauled their sound. To say that this has got a little bit of a whiff of Bring Me to the Horizon is a understatement. I mean, this is a direct inspiration, in my opinion.
Is it on Spotify yet?
It is. It's on Spotify. The song, to me, is... It reminds me a lot of the changes that Bring Me the Horizon has made over their careers and sort of where they've landed, incorporating a lot of electronic music. The music itself is dynamic. It is like an anthemic radio rock sort of song with like a very interesting edge to it.
Yeah.
And I've said it all the time. Luke and I talk about it. You and I talk about it. That this is the future, man. This is where the future of this genre of music needs to go, because I've said it a million times. Screaming in a band, playing hardcore music with breakdowns and stuff. It's easy. I hate to say it. It is. It's easy.
Here's what I want to say. You've been putting up a song of the days on our Instagram stories, so make sure that you're following us on Instagram at Sight Sound Pod. You'll get the song of the day from Jay. Sometimes I'll interject in there, but
I'm going to start inviting some guests to pick songs of the day too. I'll let Luke pick one this week too.
So make sure you're checking that out. The song is the song of the day today, which is Saturday. The song is Feel Nothing by, again, The Plot in You. Here's what I'd like to see. I would love for our listeners who might not be exposed to this type of music, the kind of music background that we come from, I would love to find these types of songs that can bring people in. Sort of what's the word that we use for a day to remember? It's the most accessible.
Transition bands.
Have a transition band, have all these accessible songs. I would love to hear, I want to hear Christina's take on this song.
Absolutely.
I want to hear Ralph Lenardic's take on this song. Like, all the people that listen to us might not be there for the music. I would love to get their takes on especially something like this.
Christina actually listens to the music episodes.
What?
Yeah, she listens to the music episodes.
What did I say? Why did you say that?
I think you were just saying that might not be around for the music stuff that we talk about. Was that what you were saying?
That's not what I meant.
You just mean for this specific type of music.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. So yeah, I would love to get their take on this, because this song blew me away for all of the reasons that you said. This is
Screen Geek. I want to know, Screen Geek. He's been loving some Sight and Sound music. I've said it before. He is like the example of why we started the show.
Yeah,
because you started off. He likes movies and stuff. He's sort of been finding his way through some of this new music, and I love it, man. That's why we did this.
So to everyone out there, please open up your Spotify right now. Go to Feel Nothing by The Plot in You. Save it for later. I'd be very curious, and let us know in the YouTube comments when this goes up on SK Plus.
And if you like it and you want more, go check out Bring Me the Horizons. That's the Spirit, because or Sempiternal, very, very similar beats. Moving on just a little bit. Did you listen to the new Coldplay song at all?
Yeah.
You did?
Twice.
What'd you think about it?
It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not trash.
No, it's not. No,
that last album, that was trash. I didn't even listen to that last album. That last album was terrible. Without a doubt, their worst album they've ever put out. When you have Chris Martin from Coldplay singing about partying, going to the club.
Who is he? Chester Bennington?
We have a horrible mistake on our hands. But this seems like it's a little bit more back to what we know and love.
A guy that named his daughter Apple has no business dancing in the club.
Absolutely. You know, he's gone through this conscious uncoupling or whatever it's called with, what's her name?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
From Planet of the Apps, who we'll be talking about a little bit later.
Yeah.
And I think
this whole episode is centered around this family.
If you want to hear what the music of somebody who is going through a midlife crisis sounds like, listen to the most recent Coldplay album. But yeah, I actually really did enjoy the song. I like Coldplay. That's a little bit more laid back, a little bit more chilled out.
It's a mood song for me.
It is, but it reminds my favorite Coldplay album is their first album, Parachutes.
For those of you who haven't caught on, Jay and I we talk about mood music a lot. When I say something is mood music, when I say something is mood music, it means something different than when Jay says something is mood music.
That's exactly right.
It's because I'm so
you say that Bouncing a Boat is mood music to you, and I'm just like,
I said, I'm so distant from music that pretty much any type of music I have to be in the mood for. So it's very different when I say something is mood music than when Jay says it. But I thought the Coldplay song was a little moody.
I think you're right.
It can hit me in the right spot depending on my mental state.
I can believe that.
So I have it on in the background.
I agree.
Doing graphic design.
Check it out and let me know what you guys think about it. But the real reason why we're here today talking about music is I want to talk about this new Lorde.
Oh Lord,
this new Lorde album. Huge release. Okay, I don't know.
It's huge.
What do you know about Lorde? Do you know anything about her at all?
She's one of those female singers that came out and with Lana Del Rey and
Adele
absolutely. And all these people that I'm like, okay, I hear you, I get you, but I play a song on the radio, I couldn't tell you who's who.
That's actually a great point that you're bringing up because she came out at a time
well, maybe I could tell Lorde and Adele apart, but
right, she came out at a time where that time in my life I called the dark period of music where I just wasn't paying attention to it.
Again.
So I'm just saying I had no context of her really, but what I did know, huge artist that sort of bubbled her way to the top. When I say huge artist, I mean it. I'm talking about 15 million monthly listeners on Spotify. She is the number 82 most listened to person on Spotify in the entire world. Huge numbers, just massive.
Mm-hmm.
And what I remember from those days of her sort of rising to fame, and I'm glad that you brought up Lana Del Rey, is because she was always, to me, had the billing of like, oh, she's this female alternative pop singer who's got this very, an indie sort of artistic edge to her. She's coming to it from a different perspective. Years later, actually listening to it, I think that's all a bunch of bullshit because a lot of her music to me.
You think it stands out?
No, I don't. I think it sounds the exact. I mean, there are elements of it that are a lot different from your traditional female pop music, but now I'm listening to this today. I'm listening to her older music today. I've heard some of those older songs that she had put out, but listening to the actual album in full, I've done that more recently. Now, back then, even though it wasn't that long ago, back then, maybe it had a different sort of take. It is a new landscape for pop music now, though.
Sia or Sia? She could be in that.
Sia, yeah.
She could be in that same grouping. By the way, if you don't think what I said is fair, just remember like a year ago, I couldn't tell you the difference between Kendrick, Chance, Future. So
you've been educated on this podcast.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I don't want people to get angry because I can't tell female singers apart. Well, that's another discussion because sometimes I can't because I think females have a harder time trying to differentiate between each other, and I think it's just actually just biology, like the human female voice. I think
vocally, I mean,
men, it's just more of a dynamic, matchup. Johnny Craig versus Kurt Cobain. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But
it was you want to cross the spectrum there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Kellen Quinn of Sleeping with Sirens, I matched that up with, but Johnny Cash.
I think the answer to that, though, if you do have a lot of female pop artists that do sound very similar, you have to rely on the music to be very different. Yeah. That's what I'm speaking of. I wasn't speaking mainly towards her voice. I was speaking towards the songs themselves, the structure of them. I mean, yes, they're pop songs, but I wanted to make the statement that I'm listening to her today not today, but this year, maybe the last year for the first time because. And when I say that it doesn't sound that different, a lot has happened from when she put out her last album. A lot. The landscape of pop music has changed dramatically. Not just because there has been this huge wave of alternative pop artists, bands like the 1975, bands like Purity Ring, who I'm not a huge fan of, but all these synth pop bands, art pop bands. Grimes is another art pop sort of thing that's going on.
It's been 4 years.
Exactly. And the landscape has changed. Not to mention that huge pop music, because of this wave of alternative and artistic pop, it sort of pushed the boundaries of even some of the bigger stars, like your Adeles, like your Coldplays and stuff like that. I mean, since she put out her last album, we had this album from a small artist named Beyonce. called Lemonade that changed everything. I mean, now for Beyonce to have an album as big as she had that sounded like it did, to have, I mean, remember, the first time people heard that album, there was a visual component along with it.
Yeah.
A storyline, so to speak. And how, I mean, that it's an album that could have been nominated for rock, pop, hip hop, R&B, and country music. Such a diverse album. And then you have artists like Frank Ocean coming out, putting out really bizarre sounding things. I mean, it's just a different landscape. So now when I hear this album, Melodrama, with her being this artistic indie female pop artist, she kind of just sounds like a lot of other female pop artists today. Like she's sort of meeting the bar. She's not breaking the mold. I don't think you can really put that label on her as this is the artistic one or this is the emo-y sounding one.
See, I don't know if that's my take. I actually found it to be pretty unique, but almost too far gone from something that would really hit with me. Like,
I don't think it stands out to me.
And I think it's basically in terms of basically her rhythm. I mean, a lot of what she does structurally and vocally
takes a lot from hip hop.
It's very unique. It's very off the wall. I don't think she doesn't care about the word catchy at all. And I don't think it's necessarily...
That Greenlight song is pretty fucking catchy.
Is that the third one?
First song.
First song.
Yeah.
That's the one I like the most. But again, her vocally patterns...
very unique.
Rhyme scheme, all that kind of stuff. It was very unique. And so unique to the point where I respect it, but it's not in my wheelhouse. It's not something that and it is actually unique. So again, that might just be because I'm uneducated with all of the other artists that I mentioned. But to me, it doesn't sound like anyone else, but it also doesn't sound like something that I can get involved with.
You actually hit on something before I could get to it. I was speaking more big picture. You were actually speaking a little bit more pinpoint on some elements. Look, with me saying all of that, now if you guys follow me along on Sight and Time Music, I've been really low on this. Like, nothing has stuck out to me. The Greenlight song grew on me a little bit, but I just thought it was really unimpressive. But like I say all the time, you got to hear things in context. This album is really easy to listen to. I mean, super easy. I think it's only like 40 minutes or 45 minutes. It's only
very quick.
It's only 11 songs. It's to the point. It flows really, really nice. I enjoyed listening to this album from front to back. And if you, like I said, bigger picture, it just sounds like pop music. It is what it is. But I think if you think about it and you look a little bit deeper, there are elements of it where it is a little bit more stripped down. I think that's what's surprising to me about the album. There are some bells and whistles going on, but
a little nude.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you're a good writer. You should think about writing sometime. Very descriptive. She gives the songs room to breathe, and in a day and age,
me at 6.
In a day and age where modern production techniques they're very crowded, they're very congested. I think she might have taken a page out of Frank Ocean's book and just let the songs be a little bit more bare bones. So I'm looking forward now to spending more time with this. I probably will review it. I enjoyed listening to it. Do you think this is something you might come back to?
No.
Not at all. Just doesn't really tick any of your boxes.
Greenlight song's okay, but that's the only one that really stuck out. It's the only song I listened to twice.
Well, be ready because they're probably going to be pumping the shit out of this album. Like on commercials.
Pumping the shit?
Yeah, commercials and advertisements.
I don't know if I like that phrase.
Pumping the shit out of it?
Yeah, I don't know if I care for that.
Okay.
Put it on the poll at Sight Sound Pod. Do you care
for the phrase pumping the shit?
Do you care for the phrase pumping the shit?
Can we just we kind of have taken our foot off the gas and on the polls. Can we just have them come back randomly one day, kind of like we did with Sight and Sound Bites? Excuse me, I got the hiccups.
Well, I'm going for it right now because this one's good.
Okay. Cool. Well, guys, let me know what you think of the new Lorde album. Look for my review of it coming soon. I'm anxious to know what Luke thought of this because he loves Lorde. He loves the Lorde. And I wasn't super high on it. So he's either going to walk away from this being super stoked that I was interested in it, or he might be annoyed by some of the minor negative things I said about it.
All right.
You don't have anything else? He's too busy making the poll. All right, what are we talking about next?
Movies.
All right, we will take a break. We'll be right back. We love cramming your ear holes with sight and sound goodness, but now we want to be all over your body. Wait, before you file a police report, we want you to wear our t-shirts. Head on over to sightsoundpod.com and pick up your sight and sound gear today. Every month we are releasing exclusive and limited designs, so if you see something you really want, make sure to pick it up before it goes away forever. Oh yeah, and the best part? Every time you buy a Sight and Sound shirt, you can go to bed at night feeling like a better person because you are doing your part to not only support this show, but make it better in the future. We have a ton of ideas to make Sight and Sound better for you, like doing a video version of Sight and Sound Weekly. Every time you buy a t-shirt, you are supporting us and helping make that dream a reality. Again, head on over to sightsoundpod.com and pick up your Sight and Sound gear today.
All right, let's get into movies. I got one quick topic that I want your take on before we get into the main topic.
Can we make a shirt that says movies and put a cat on it?
Yeah. Wait, why would cats say meow, not mew?
Meow. They don't really sound like meow, though. They sound like meow.
Yeah. I'd be more inclined to do the Pokemon. Mew.
Mew kind of looks like a cat.
A cat mixed with a Pokemon. Let's talk about this whole James Gunn Guardians of the Galaxy thing. This is actually the very first time you're hearing about this.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
Headline: James Gunn may compromise the canon of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Headline: Who cares?
You know, in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, the prison lineup scene where they're like in the kiln, one by one, the screen pops up and John C. Reilly's talking to what's his name? Can't remember his name. That actor. And they're basically doing all the graphics that pop up that show their like biology and identity and their record and all that stuff. There is something somewhere, and I don't know which character because I don't think they actually want to reveal the specifics, but something is written in those graphics that James Gunn wants to break in.
This is going to get into a great discussion.
In Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So he has this great idea for Volume 3. He's probably already written it in his head. I don't know if he's physically done it. But he wants to break something that he came up with for those graphic scenes. So the question is, should James Gunn do what he wants to do for the story of Volume 3, even if it means compromising the MCU canon? Is this a big enough deal? Should and do people care about this idea? And will this set a dangerous precedent in the future for the MCU? All of the above. I want your take.
So, first of all, this should just be reported news that it's going to happen. This should not have to be discussed.
It's only discussed because James Gunn was quoted as saying he's debating this.
Right.
Which you can ask the same question. Why even say this
out
loud?
What I mean by discuss, like this 10-minute discussion that we're about to have on it.
10-minute, man.
Okay, even shorter is all you need about it. I'm sure this led Movie Talk one day. I'm sure this led Screen Junkies News. I'm sure this...
I don't know.
I'm sure this was like a big deal to movie blogs because on these things where they're constantly having to churn out and dig up and turn anything into a big story that shouldn't really be a big story and get people riled up about it. I mean, I hate news that shouldn't really have to be news. This shouldn't have to be news.
What's funny about this is
because he can really do whatever the fuck he wants.
I didn't come across this story through those vehicles. I actually found it in an article, which is funny because Movie Talk and Screen Junkies, they've ruined me for reading blogs. Actually, I've been very annoyed by headlines, mainly provided by Heroic Hollywood. They always happen to be about superhero films. I think I tweeted about this too, and a few other people actually agreed with me. Comic book movie headlines have just been really annoying.
Yeah.
They've been almost just nothing news.
Non-news.
Like non-news, nothing. Like there's no reason why you should write an article. You open the article, it ends up being 2 paragraphs. I don't know. To me, something like Doctor Strange caught on the set of Avengers Infinity War. It's like, I don't give a shit.
Any news that you can put across in a tweet is nothing.
Yeah.
And here's one more thing.
Which is challenging to the overall news landscape, actually, not just with movie news in general. I mean, something like Twitter has really challenged, especially when so many people on Facebook, they're all about reading the headlines as opposed to actually reading the articles. So it's actually pretty fascinating.
Well, that's why podcasts are so great, because we can have those sort of elaborate discussions about them and let maybe that tweetable sort of news.
People don't have to read ever again.
That's right.
Thank you, Audible.
I'm gonna give you everything about this story from me, and we could be done with it forever. First of all, James Gunn, as long as he has the okay from Kevin Feige, can do whatever he wants. Period with that. And second of all, if anybody were to have a problem with this, there's a little movie called Star Wars that, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Luke kissing Leia scene in A New Hope.
They kiss in Empire.
And Empire, yeah, in general. But a lot of that stuff in New Hope that would sort of be unpacked in the other 2 films, they didn't really have a lot of that figured out, did they? I mean, they didn't really...
As far as I know.
Yeah, a lot of that was
I think he likes to say that he did, but he obviously... I don't know why.
Right.
They would write that. But anyway, regardless.
Yeah.
You're right. Here's my take. Give me the best Volume 3. And if that means going back on something that you wrote in the graphics of that scene, I don't give a shit.
Right.
I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. You can just you can retcon that easily with one line of dialogue saying that it was false information or something like that. I don't even know if you have to do that, period. Because if he hadn't have said anything, only the nerdiest people may have caught on to it.
Right.
But overall, I mean, just give me the best Volume 3. I don't give a shit if you have to break something that was in the on the dotted line or in the fine print, whatever. I don't give a shit. And I don't think anyone else should care either. Honestly, I kind of think it's dumb that he brought it up to begin with, because I think people were going to, again, make nothing out of something.
Right.
Or something out of nothing, excuse me. That was a George Bush moment.
Well, years later down the road, if it does actually happen and Guardians 3 is good, it can kind of just be one of those things, like the stormtrooper hitting his head on the door, or
I mean, that's,
or Han shot first, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, well, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, it's different.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's just a thing.
It
really is just a thing.
It's really not a big deal, and I don't think, talking about setting a precedent, if the story's good, Kevin Feige is going to recognize that, and I think I would hope that he would just be like, just do it,
right?
And I don't think it would set a precedent, because
it's not like he's turning Rocket Raccoon into like a ferret or something.
Yeah. So I just think it's an almost nothing story, but I know that.
And wasn't Drax wasn't he blue in one movie and like kind of gray in another movie? Like, who cares?
No.
Okay. Sometimes I get mixed up of who's what color.
All right, so yeah, let's just call that a nothing story. I think we're both on the same page with that.
It was good to comment on nothing stories. Don't stand for it, guys.
Yeah.
Be smarter.
Who cares?
Be smarter news consumers.
Okay, the main thing I want to talk about, I made a video about it yesterday. I had a hot take, Jay, because this got me riled up. Yesterday it was reported.
You know how I feel about hot takes. I like them.
You love them, yeah. I actually think you like saying the word hot take and what's your take more than you actually like having hot takes.
I just like having them. I like having them in general. Hot takes and sausage. Anyways,
yesterday it was leaked. Variety leaked an email.
Yeah,
from Universal that they were blaming Tom Cruise for The Mummy. Essentially, they were blaming it for the issues behind the production that we didn't really even know about. They blamed him for the poor box office reception. And you can look up the video on our YouTube channel. You can kind of get my take. But
in which you are in no way playing up any sort of character at all. That is exactly how you are all the time.
Correct. I do think it's absolute horseshit.
Right.
What do you think about
it? Look, yeah, it's not his fault that the movie was shit. What the hell are you thinking?
All right, let's go over this. All right, so
I also don't know how much a company should be placing their hopes, or I don't know how much control they should be giving an actor to begin with, but to say it's outright that one person's fault is bullshit.
I would say that Tom Cruise is not just an actor. I mean, this guy is a very smart producer as well. I mean, he is a trusted action star.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can bring up Jack Reacher 2 all you want. That was unsatisfying. It didn't have great box office. It pretty much killed the franchise. But I think Jack Reacher is sort of anomaly might not be the right word, but I don't think Jack Reacher was just the right franchise at all. I don't think Jack Reacher had legs to exist in our current cinematic environment. So, I mean, I know that it was a passion project of his, and the first one was received okay, but anyway, I don't think it stood a chance. So
well, I don't know whose eyes are trying to pull the wool over here, because I think as a movie community, we all know better, right? It's just like with sports. The director is like the head coach or the general manager of the team. When a team performs badly, no matter what, no matter who gets injured, no matter who has a bad season, the coach is ultimately responsible for it, just like the director is ultimately responsible when it goes good and when it goes bad, for the most part. Now, we as the movie discussion community and the movie fan community, we are all aware of this. I'm curious if whether or not that they try to inject stories like these for the more casual moviegoers, for this to be a story that bubbles up to the top of the general audience, and for them to say, oh, did you hear how shitty Universal's first monster movie in their franchise was? And for every other general audience person, they could just say, oh, well, I heard it was Tom Cruise's fault. I mean, if you think about all the others, like I'm able to separate Tom Cruise as an actor from all of the other wacky stuff he does with Scientology and everything else. Yeah. I'm able to do that. But I feel like that's easy. If you're the type of person that says, oh, I don't like Tom Cruise movies because he's a Scientologist, then fuck off, because you're probably not much of a film fan anyways.
And I think that's kind of over. And I think people were more about...
For the most simplest person, I guarantee you it's still a thing.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure someone wants to comment. There's probably plenty of comments on the internet that still talk about it. Absolutely. But I think overall, the discussion of is he out of his mind, I think that a lot of that came from the Katie Holmes stuff. So that stuff has kind of been played. We've forgotten about it, especially with Mission Impossible. I mean,
Mission Impossible 2?
Generally. Huh?
What do you mean? What do you mean by that statement? Mission Impossible. What about it?
Is a great franchise.
Oh, 100%.
And it kills it.
100%.
No one second guesses or thinks twice about Tom Cruise when those movies come
Rogue Nation? Are you serious? Rebecca fucking Ferguson? Oh my God. That movie is great. That is the first movie in the years that I've watched twice in like a week. It is so good.
The past 3 Mission Impossibles are great.
Anyway. Ghost Protocol is okay.
No, Ghost Protocol is really good.
I just think it's okay.
It's good.
Good, not great.
So the problem is, you're absolutely right that it comes down to the studio. I mean, they're the ones that make all the decisions in general to get this thing in motion. All the way, I mean,
yeah.
Okay, they might pinpoint the Rotten Tomatoes score, the box office return is Tom Cruise's fault. You're the guys who made the fucking movie. You approved the script, you approved rewrites, you hired the director. You plant the seed, and you're gonna blame it on Tom Cruise after the fact. It's like having Tom Cruise was probably one of the better decisions. I would have loved to have seen what the movie would have turned out to be like without Tom Cruise. Yeah. So here, I think when anything like this comes up, this is just who I am. This is based on personality. When anything like this comes up, and you actually already hit on it, I tend to be the more anti-establishment. So when anything like this comes up, I'm
100%.
going to be against the studios before I'm going to be against, especially someone I love like Tom Cruise. We had this issue with Baywatch as well, when Rotten Tomatoes was supposedly to blame for the Baywatch's poor performance. Both of these movies, I think, are sitting around 18% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That was funny how you said that. Rotten Tomato. You said that like Bane. Rotten Tomato.
There's just a lot of finger pointing going on this year, and I'm over it. I think it's bullshit. I mean, we should be talking about the fact that this year just sucks in general with movies.
Well, real quick before we get into that, what this whole situation reminds me of with the Tom Cruise stuff and the studio stuff, it kind of reminds me of parents and little kids when the little kid comes up to the mom or dad and says, "Oh, little Billy was throwing rocks at JoJo," or something like that. And the parent gets mad at the kid for tattletelling. Like, they're mad at everybody, but they're more mad at the kid for tattletelling. Like, fuck off.
And one thing I want to touch on, too, is Alex Kurtzman.
I don't know where JoJo and Billy came from.
I don't know.
I'm actually kind of weirded
Maybe
out by
if we
that.
go back into your past, there were some kids.
Casey and JoJo?
Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Casey and JoJo.
Two different groups.
Right.
Alex Kurtzman is the other thing I want to talk about here. Alex Kurtzman him and Roberto Orci have been high-profile screenwriters in the past decade. I was first aware of them. They actually wrote MI3 for JJ and for Tom back in the day. And since then, they became huge screenwriters. They had their hands in both of JJ's Star Trek movies, but they also turned out some really big duds, including Transformers Revenge of the Fallen.
Great movie.
And Amazing Spider-Man 2. So
Never seen it.
They are high profile, but inconsistent when it comes to screenwriting. Having him direct this movie was their first mistake. I think...
Who leads off a gigantic franchise with a green around the ears director?
And I want to clarify, because Kurtzman and Orci have been a duo for, again, the past 10 years. One of them directed a movie with Chris Pine called People Like Us. Yes, People Like Us, he directed, which was just a small, like, while settling his recently deceased father's estate, a salesman discovers he has a sister whom he never knew. That type of movie.
Right.
He did that. Okay. Going back to the conversation I had about Colin Trevorrow and with John Watts, it's just hard for me to translate when these people direct this type of movie that they should helm these next big budget pictures. Sometimes they pull it off, sometimes they don't. We'll find out with Spider-Man Homecoming. But having him lead off the universe, you're exactly right. And to find out, it's in the report, to find out that he was having trouble on set with some of the big picture stuff, and Tom Cruise had to step in, good. Because if he didn't, the movie might have been way worse. Tom Cruise, of all people, can handle this shit. I would actually love to see Tom Cruise have directed the whole fucking thing.
Let me ask you this real quick. So, you're a basketball fan? Yeah. NBA? You watch some NBA stuff?
Some.
So, one of the things that the NBA does, and this is Universal with their monster movie franchise, does what NBA teams do. Instead, they want to spend their money on the players and just let the coach be whoever. They can be whoever they want. The players will get us to the championship. I don't want that. There are numerous examples in films where a great director can take a cast of unknowns and make fucking fire movies. J.J. Abrams in The Force Awakens essentially did that. I mean, Daisy Ridley and John Boyega, virtually unknown people. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, great film. Somebody like our boy, I forget his name off the top of my head, with Kingsman. I mean, he had Colin.
Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah, Matthew Vaughn. Obviously, he had Colin, what's his name? And that was great. And there's just examples all over the place.
Well, he put Taron Egerton on the map.
Absolutely.
To continue that point.
I would much rather, especially with movies like this, I mean, you've got to have the right parts and pieces in place. Yes, you need people to come to the theater. And I get that to a certain extent. I really, really do. But there is nothing that can crush a franchise quicker than a shitty early movie. I mean, not every franchise can be the DC franchise and just have shitbags after shitbags. And then
that was my other point too. There's just sort of no excuse, and I said this about DC. There's no excuse to not take example from all of these other existing universes. So the only thing that might change what I'm saying is if I find out, and maybe this was even in the report, but I overread it because I was red hot. If we find out that Tom Cruise,
did you just do a thing? Did you try to do a pun there? A play on words?
No.
You're not a very punny person. You don't do a lot of puns.
If we find out that he chose Alex Kurtzman to direct it because of their history, then fine.
Right.
But, and I'll give him that. I think he primarily came in and he was in charge of some of the rewrites and changes to his own character. But that's still not his problem. I mean, then control Tom Cruise.
Right.
Like if he is genuinely the problem, which I just can't believe that. But if he is the problem, then it's still on you for not keeping him in check. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
Or replacing the director. I mean, it's just like the first assistant director could have come in and helped Alex Kurtzman, not Tom Cruise. I mean, shit.
Yeah, I don't really enjoy this story. I think it's kind of horseshit. Yeah, I mean, here's what it comes down to. You know what I think?
What do you think, Jay?
Universal should be ashamed of themselves.
I think that Tom Cruise should just quit and leave Universal to figure all of this out, and he can go back to Paramount and keep making his movies.
Absolutely. Last Samurai 2. Last Samurai again.
Did Paramount make Last Samurai?
I have no idea. I've never seen The Last Samurai.
Edge of Tomorrow 2. Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat. Now, that title sucks ass, but I want to see that fucking movie, that's for sure.
You know what I think? I think they should make a new Mission Impossible movie, and they should get that guy that played Hawkeye to take over for Tom Cruise. He's the worst character.
Have you not seen the onset photos of Henry Cavill on MI6? Have you not seen those pictures?
I don't care.
You were just talking about how great Rogue Nation was. You don't care about its sequel with Rebecca Ferguson? And
I mean, Henry Cavill does nothing for me. He does nothing for me.
He's really good in Man from U.N.C.L.E.
He does.
He's really good in it.
Henry Cavill does nothing for me. Man from U.N.C.L.E. does nothing for me.
It's not.
That is a period piece. You know how I feel about that.
That movie's not that great, but I mean, it's fine.
Were you trying to sell me on it?
I'm not. I'm telling you how great Henry Cavill was in it. He was the only part I really enjoyed in that movie.
You're trying to tell me that an actor that doesn't get me excited is great in a movie that's not even good? How dare you?
I mean, yeah,
you should be ashamed
technically
of yourself.
That is what I said, but I mean, I'm just saying.
I haven't seen Man of Steel. You think that'll change my mind?
No. It won't.
Okay.
He might have like 5 lines in that whole movie.
Okay. Movies are trash right now. That's really the headline. I pray to God that Spider-Man Homecoming is good and it gets us jazzed about movies again.
Have you heard about the fact that the international trailer spoiled something and that it pretty much ruined the entire movie?
I don't care. I don't care about.
I'm just saying we're good. Like you and I consciously stepped away from the Spider-Man stuff. They released that whole behind the scenes video that we tweeted
that whole thing. Listen, that thing is, first of all, that was made for children. 100%. That was probably made to be played on Disney XD for kids. Like,
you watched that?
I watched the entire thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's exactly what it was. And I saw a few people talking about like, oh my God, they're doing all this stuff. Things like that. If you are listening to this podcast, shit like that is not made for you. And I'm so sick of the trailer discussion spoiler thing. If you don't want to be spoiled by trailers, then stop watching the trailers. And I also don't want to hear the conversation of, well, I shouldn't have to do that. That's like fat people being sad that McDonald's exists. Like, don't go there. Just don't.
No, actually, I'm going to go against you.
Okay.
trailers shouldn't have to be that way.
They shouldn't have to.
So it's also hard to know because some trailers are disciplined and don't spoil stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's hard to know and navigate. And
but
if
you know, like if you're playing Russian roulette, you know that you might die. Like it. I agree with you 100%.
Movie fandom shouldn't have to be a weekly game of Russian roulette.
I agree with you 100%.
So
it shouldn't be that way.
I do like the fact that I think if you're a diehard movie fan and you want to be cautious, I do like the idea of maybe stopping after the teaser trailer.
Yes.
Or maybe, you know what? Honestly, let your friends watch it before you. Like,
absolutely.
If you want to be conscious, but you're not about like declaring no more trailers, just let your friend watch it for you. Maybe send the trailer to someone who's a more casual film goer. Be like, hey, would this piss me off?
Right. I mean, it's a similar.
There's ways around it.
It's a similar sort of discussion with spoilers too. You know, your whole thing about the Walking Dead spoilers. Like, I get that. And look, I watch. It's same for sports. Like, have you ever worked while a sporting event that you wanted to watch was going on, and you had to actively stay off social media?
Yes.
Okay, like
happens quite a bit.
Okay, so I mean, I guess where's the line drawn between something like a spoiler for a TV show being discussed online, the results or events of a sporting event going on online, and a trailer potentially, and also spoilers are obviously we know like if
they're subjective,
they are subjective, but certain things obviously aren't. Like a twist in a movie.
I think the difference in sports is that. Sports is live, and it's the way it's presented. It's meant to be very much in the now,
right?
So I'm a little bit more lenient. Yes, I can try to stay off Twitter. That way, I can get home and watch the game that I've DVR'd maybe an hour or two after. But if I'm planning to watch a game that I DVR'd 3 days later, I can't get mad if I find out who wins. I mean that's the difference. When a movie comes out and when a TV show comes out, you have to give everyone time to see it. So I'm more. I get more angry about the spoiler culture involved around TVs and movies than I do if I happen to accidentally hear who won the UK game.
I actually agree with you 100%. I think it's an interesting thing to discuss.
Like you're supposed to move on when it comes to sports because they have another game next week.
Yeah, like for instance, I guess spoiler alert, in The Leftovers, they had like a different theme song every single week.
Yeah.
Like if somebody was like, oh, I can't believe they played, whatever theme song. And if I was like, oh my God, spoiler alert, fuck off. It's not a spoiler. That's not a spoiler. Like,
what a unique example.
I know. That's the only thing I can think of.
From? I don't even think
have
anybody
CTE
had that.
And I have it's the shortest thing I can remember.
I don't think anybody had that problem with the Leftovers theme music.
Well, no. Most people probably didn't, but you know there's some jackass out there. Anytime you give an example, if you can think of an example of somebody to do something like that, it's been done. They've gotten annoyed by it. Well, I actually love being surprised by what song they play.
My final take on this, and then we can move into TV.
I have to pee so bad. I should have done it at the last break.
I have to pee too. I have to pee every break.
You didn't last one.
Yeah, I did.
You said, let's just get into it.
But I still went and peed.
Okay.
Right now, it is not fun or not that fun to be a movie fan. I have not enjoyed movies this year as much as years past. And 2016 was kind of a bummer, especially with like the epitome of 2016 was Jason Bourne for me. That movie that was so.
You mean the hype?
For personally, my personal hype, personal anticipation for that because it's a franchise that's very close to my heart. The fact that it was just mediocre, unnecessary. I mean, that was sort of the antithesis of what movies were like in 2016 for me. We talked about it before. Right now, I can only think of maybe 4 movies. Like, not even the fact that they're quality movies. Like, my recollection of movies that have come out this year. So many movies have just not been memorable in the least. And I just
Logan and Wonder Woman. And
Logan, Wonder Woman, Get Out.
I haven't seen Get Out.
Lego Batman. And then it stops there.
I actually thought Lego Batman was a little overhyped.
Split, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, Split's probably not
going to be. It's a very short list.
I don't think Split's going to make my top 10.
Here's what I want to do. And don't forget though, a lot of movies came out at the end of last year that sort of erased some of that opinion for people. Like, oh, maybe it wasn't as bad as we thought. Here's what I want to do. I want to put a flag in this conversation and say, just because the year ends with Star Wars, I don't want us to be riding that high wave when we discuss like who won the year. I don't want that to like
Star Wars could easily win the year if it can't.
Absolutely, with the discussion, with the
way
discussion,
that this year's panning out,
with the discussion, 100%. But one movie alone I don't think can overturn a year that's been super lackluster.
Oh.
For pop culture in general, you could 100% say Star Wars won the year of pop culture, but I don't know if it could take. I don't know if it can, like, just how a shitty team. Well, a team that doesn't win the Super Bowl can still have the MVP on his team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, this is actually the last thing. I need you to make a promise to me.
I never make promises.
Even today, I think they started yesterday, but today as well, they have already started about a month in advance. They have already started screening War for the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
And not only that, but the response has been insanity when it comes to the quality of this movie, what it's going to mean.
Like insanely good?
Yes.
Okay.
What it's going to mean, maybe arguably one of our greatest trilogies will be coming to an end in 2017.
You trying to do a never before seen?
What I'm saying is I need you to watch these two movies before we go see War for the Planet of the Apes, because
I've seen the first one.
Okay, I need you to see Dawn, because there is a great chance that it is in the top 5 movies of the year.
Okay. I mean, look, here's where I'm riding on it right now. I've seen the trailers. They look really good. I probably need to see the second one to probably be more invested in.
Oh, 100%.
Of course. Look, if the reviews come out of this thing and they're riding super high on it, if it's just, it's okay. If it's like B range, or
the things I've seen on Twitter are insane.
If it's below an 80, there's no chance I'm going to see this movie. There's no chance in hell. It's just not happening.
All right, we can finish there. We'll pee.
All right.
And come back, talk about TV.
If you're just listening to Sight and Sound via our podcast, that's great. That's fine. But make sure you know that you can find us all over the internet, all over social media. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Just find us at Sight Sound Pod. It's the same for all of those. Obviously, you can find us on our YouTube channel, but our social media is a great place to stay up to date on all of the Sight and Sound content.
Actually, let's go over what just happened. So we're going to talk about Planet of the Apes. I wanted to talk about it. We watched it earlier this week. What did you just say?
I said that I don't have much to say about it, but I can elaborate. In a longer form discussion about it if I need to.
That thought right there is more than what I have before every music segment on Science Sound Weekly.
Oh yeah.
I can try my best at this topic.
What's funny about this show? So
it's lopsided.
Okay, it's
lopsided.
No, I'm not talking about our show. I'm talking about
Planet of the Apes.
It's not always about you. So you are a massive fan of Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes, that's safe to say.
I enjoy him. I've enjoyed his content for quite a while. I knew of him before he was on Joe Rogan, but I paid attention to him a little bit more after Joe Rogan and sort of dipped my toes in the pool every now and then. For those that don't know, he is an entrepreneur, a former investor in
hold on. I got
the tech industry.
I got this. He
invested in Facebook and Twitter.
He was an immigrant. He came over from Belarus. He was traded as a Jew for wheat, and he migrated to the U.S. of A. His father was the stock boy in a liquor store, and within a few years, he became owner of that liquor store. So Gary was raised in this space. He went on to produce, when YouTube came out, he produced this Wine Library TV, which he was tired of the the whole pretentiousness behind like wine culture, and he was like, I'm gonna make wine for everybody. So he put it online, and he made this TV show, one of the first people to do a show on YouTube.
If you go back and watch it, it's about the same level of quality as we do our show today.
Yeah, right. So, but anyway, through various other things went on that eventually went away. He became an angel investor. I actually watched a talk with him last night where he talked about the idea of becoming an angel investor. He had to look it up before he actually became one because he didn't know what it meant. He got in early on Twitter. He was an investor on Facebook, and eventually kept rising and became this multimedia kind of what word do I want? A motivational speaker / social media consultant. He's very, very prominent on YouTube, and
he has a few different ventures that sort of run themselves. So he is capable to be his own sort of personality, motivational speaker, help giving people advice on business. Now, here's what's funny about this whole discussion of the people involved in this show. He is one of the people on Planet of the Apps. Probably the smallest in terms of overall celebrity stature, but a very, very important individual. Yeah. And let me just say this about Gary Vaynerchuk, a very incredibly important individual, I think, to people like us and what we're trying to do. He is so of the belief that things like what we are doing and creating new media is not only the future and like this head in the sky, head in the cloud sort of thing. He's pretty much saying that if you are an entrepreneur and you aren't doing the things that we do on a consistent basis, then you're essentially going to be left out in the cold. And I think he's right about that. The other thing I will say about Gary Vaynerchuk is he's actually helped me out a lot recently. I've just in my own professional life have been going through some weird things, some weird transition things. I normally start my day off drinking coffee, and I utilize caffeine to sort of get me into the day and get me through the day. I've now started watching his videos in the morning as soon as I wake up.
Okay.
And it changes my perspective for the entire day.
Yes.
It makes me think about everything that I do completely different.
Yeah. And I told someone that last night. I was trying to get someone onto his content on YouTube, and that's exactly what I said. He basically just changed my perspective on a lot of things. Actually, and I'll give you credit, some of the stuff that he preaches, you've been kind of preaching for a long time, but it kind of helps. Patience is the main thing. But the reason why we're going on about Gary Vaynerchuk is because I do think he's, an important figure for anyone like us who content creators, people who need to stay motivated. Great point. I'm glad you said that. I've been watching a ton of his content too. And it's probably, I'm probably watching too much to the point that it goes against everything that he preaches, which is, it's a funny image. Someone laying in bed, spending hours on hours watching video about staying motivated and hustling. And so anyway, I'm guilty of that. But I would have never watched Planet of the Apps if it wasn't for Gary Vaynerchuk, which is funny because you talked about how many people are involved. Jessica Alba, Gwyneth Paltrow, Will.i.am. Am I missing one, or is it just those four?
Zane Lowe is sort of the host. He's the Ryan Seacrest of the show.
So anyway, the only reason why I would never have watched this is because this is an Apple Music exclusive, and I have Android. I don't have Apple Music. Well, I didn't until this show came out. Apple Music is not something I've actually been against it. We've kind of talked about the exclusivity of music and everything. So
I am too.
I never in my life thought I would download Apple Music, but I did because
Apple Music is one of the dumbest things they've ever done. It's one of the stupidest things that Apple has ever done.
So I don't want to get into that.
Okay.
I think we
I'll go on a rant.
I think we disagree.
Later.
But anyway.
What do you know?
Do you want to talk about this right now?
What do you know about Apple Music?
Do you want to talk about Apple Music on this podcast?
I mean, we can. It's a huge thing.
Okay.
It's a huge thing to
when
discuss.
It comes to Apple being sort of in front of the what's the word?
Ahead of the curve.
Ahead of the curve, yes. This is not an example of that.
Exactly.
But they still needed it
move
to compete with Google Music as well. I mean, it just falls in line with. It's funny how things like Spotify and everything that came out, sort of after the fact, with iTunes and everything, they needed to get it out there. They were just it just came out later when you expect a company like Apple to stay ahead of the curve, and I think that might be where you have issues with it. But
sort of my biggest issue is the fact that anytime Apple, at least under the guise of Steve Jobs, anytime they made a reactionary move, when they released it so that it was so much different and it carried the Apple name that it forced everybody else to change what they had already been doing. Like, for instance, phones, they existed. Mobile phones existed.
Yeah.
The way that Steve Jobs announced the iPhone, he put every single one of his competitors on the screen, BlackBerry, Razor, all these phones. And then he put his phone on there, and it was the only one that didn't have a button on it. And people were like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What is it? I mean, it changed everything.
Right. So anyway,
yeah,
I get that, but they still
yeah.
needed it. I think, if anything, my question is, why the hell is a TV show on Apple Music? So this is their very first show. Again, Planet of the Apps. It's essentially how they describe it as Shark Tank meets The Voice. Those are actually...
It's sort of their first show, but yeah, go ahead.
So those are actually two reality shows I don't have an issue with. I enjoy watching The Voice when it's on. I don't watch it consistently, but if it's on and people want to watch it, we watch it. I think it's pretty entertaining. Shark Tank, I'm a huge fan of. I love Shark Tank, and I joke all the time that I love. I'm very much business minded when I'm watching that show. I use it sort of as an educational type of show because I don't know a lot about business at all.
Yes.
So I do enjoy my time with it. It's very interesting to watch. So this is right in my wheelhouse. Again, it's available on Apple Music only. So if you have an iPhone and you can do the Apple Music, the 3-month trial for free. And if you sign up for that 3-month free trial, you're going to be able to watch all of these episodes if this is a show that you're into.
Yeah. And if you're not subscribed to a music service, not only can you watch the show, you got 3 months of every music ever to listen to, and a ton of additional content that they do put out, music related and stuff.
So to continue this brief synopsis, that's not so brief. Basically, it's like Shark Tank in the way that Jessica Alba, Gwyneth Paltrow, will.i.am, Gary Vaynerchuk are the sharks, quote unquote, and someone, the contestant, whatever you want to call them, the average Joe comes in and presents an idea for an app. There's a brief pitch / presentation, and they vote on it.
The escalator pitch.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the way that it differs with Shark Tank is that it follows through on the people that have made it, and it follows their journey into sort of continuing to develop the app with their coach that was chosen.
Kind of like The Voice, yeah.
Yeah. And eventually they go to the way the show wraps up, it's them presenting their product to a venture capitalist for a round of money, if you will, a round of investment. So that's pretty much the gist of it. That's a show that speaks to me very much. I was very curious to watch it. Overall, I think my only problem with the show is that I don't think it shows us the most interesting part of them developing this app. It's a lot of like talking, but I don't see a lot of doing. I want to see more show and not.
Who are you, Gary V?
I want to see the show. I don't want to see the tell
of
the show. Like, I want to see them actually talking. Like, for example, we watched these two who had an idea to make basically personal security better for you on your cell phone, an app.
Right.
And I wanted to see them talk to security companies about how improving this app, whatever. But it's really just like a quick cut of Gary Vee being like, hey, change this. And then, so I guess essentially how I describe the show, it's just 2 pitches. That's mainly what it is. And I just feel like that's not the most interesting part of it. I want to see the journey instead of just seeing a second pitch. They have the first pitch, the primary pitch in front of the quote unquote sharks. And then it's about leading up to a second pitch.
To sort of put it in a box here and relate it to another show. This is a reality show like those shows that you said, but it's a short form version of it because it's exactly like Chopped, the show Chopped. So have you ever watched Chopped on Food Network?
No.
Okay, so Chopped, essentially, they bring in chefs to compete for one show and one show only. They leave next week. It's almost like the antithesis of a serialized TV show. I mean, every single episode is something different, so to speak. And a procedural. It's a procedural reality TV show, which sounds terrible.
Don't think about it. Just go with it.
Anyways, so for me watching this show, I was actually surprised because this show offers nothing different that other reality shows provide outside of it's sort of embedded in the tech space. And that is really surprising to me because reality TV shows live on network and cable television. The more traditional forms of watching television, and they play out to a demographic that don't typically go online to these online services to watch these things. So they've invested a ton of money into putting it on a service for a demographic that really doesn't watch that much reality television. And if they're going to do that, I thought that for sure it would have just had this really innovative take on it, and it didn't. It just didn't. I mean, it looked like every single other reality TV show that I've ever watched in my entire life that has this sort of vibe. American Idol, The Voice, Shark Tank, like you've already said, Chopped. It just didn't provide me enough stuff. And I was worried about my take on this until I watched today an Ask Gary V episode where he said, everybody thinks that this new TV deal I have with Apple is going to take me to the next level. And I've been saying from day one that I don't think this show is going to be what everybody thinks it is. I do not think this is the end result for me.
Oh, really?
He said that.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think it's an end result thing. I don't think.
Well, I might be. He pretty much just said that he didn't think it was going to do much different for him. Right. What's going to do things for him is the things that he's already doing on social media and whatnot.
Right. No, I agree with that. But I don't have a problem with that. I mean, again, I've pretty much been saying it's like Shark Tank and it's like The Voice. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much how I describe it, and it's so true. I think it's smart on the fact that it's playing off of what we're seeing with things like Silicon Valley.
Absolutely.
And we're seeing people kind of get more involved with this, and we're seeing it in general in our culture becoming more of a thing. Entrepreneurs are becoming app techs.
Rock stars.
Yeah. So I think it's very relevant, and I like its purpose. But you're right. It's not particularly unique. Again, I think what they had, again, they had the idea to follow a particular timeline, which is not something that Shark Tank does. Shark Tank is purely pitches, and they insert quick clips of maybe like a follow-up with Tom and Chi to see how they're doing. But overall, they don't get to do that. They don't really do that. So, I mean, there's probably been a million businesses that have come on Shark Tank and nothing ever comes of it, but you don't know about those stories. So I think they had the potential to be that, but ultimately it was an Oreo. It was an Oreo cookie. It just had a thin middle. Let
me throw in
there.
Let me throw in 2 quick points and we can wrap it up and go on to our other TV topic. But I don't want to be misinterpreted here. Even though I said everything that I said, I actually think the show is executed great. I think it looks great. I think I do think it's interesting, and I think if you like shows like this, 100% seek this out and watch it. Just for me personally, I don't really care for content like this. I don't go out of my way. Like the only time I see reality TV is when I'm like over at my parents eating dinner and they have it on while we're eating or something like that. It's just not for me personally. But if you like this stuff, please
would you show the show to your parents?
Absolutely. I think they would really, really enjoy it, as a matter of fact. The other point I wanted to make, and this isn't really necessarily a criticism, it's what I think I would have liked the show to have been. When they did their pitches, these are apps that actually already exist, and they have a pretty large user base. I would have loved to have seen something from ground zero. I wanted to see somebody that had an idea and had no idea how to start it, and get somebody like Gary V.
That might not be what they're going for, though.
It probably isn't, but I think that, just me personally, I think that's fascinating. Like, I've had app ideas before. I don't know a fucking thing how to get that off the ground, but like to have like somebody say, okay, here's what you need to do. You need to go out and reach out to engineers and all this stuff. Like, that's fascinating.
Right. So anyway, Are you going to continue to watch the show? Or
no. First of all, I didn't even know I had Apple Music.
Yeah.
And I was annoyed that I was still subscribed to it. So watching that show just reminded me that I needed to unsubscribe to Apple Music.
My thing is, since I don't have Apple products, I have to watch it on my phone. So whenever I do like the show and I do want to keep watching it, when I get around to feeling like I want to watch TV on my phone.
You should be able to watch it on your computer. You can download if you download
that's
iTunes.
A room situation.
Okay.
My TV is, I have to look down at my TV because it's on a temporary desk. Anyway,
gotcha.
It's not ideal. I can, yes, but
as a music fan, music lovers out there, from time to time I do double up on my music subscription services. Like if there's an exclusive, like when Drake drops Views on Apple Music and it's not available for a month, you bet your sweet ass Papa J is downloading Apple Music to listen to it and paying an additional $9.99 a month. But yeah, it is what it is.
Okay, so there's that. We love you, Gary V, because you're listening. Because I've linked you this episode.
Okay, cool.
Let's talk about Titans. The Teen Titans.
How did I find out about this? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know.
I'm trying to remember how I discovered.
You found out about
news.
it before I did.
Was I? Oh, I was watching Collider Heroes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I was watching Collider Heroes on a Tuesday, and okay, so you always joked about how I need to step up my superhero television game. I've spoken about it here before. Not the biggest fan of Marvel television, any of them, at all. And I think there's some things they do good, but for the most part, could care less. So the DC shows, I've never started any of them because I've gotten the buzz around them was, oh, they're on CW, they're trash, da-da-da-da-da. And so by the time I finally was like, oh, maybe I'll check this out, I go online and look at them on the TV Time app, and I see that they're like 5 seasons deep of 23 episodes. And dude, that is so fucking overwhelming for me that I couldn't bear myself to do it. That's changed though. Because with the announcement that this Teen Titans or Titans show is coming to some sort of DC TV new streaming service.
Brothers.
Yeah, Warner Brothers streaming service. That's the straw that broke the camel's back. I said, I have got to see Nightwing on television or whatever iteration of him he is. And I started Arrow. And Arrow is dope. Arrow episodes 1, 2, and 3, at least, are better.
Episode 4 is good.
Are better than anything Marvel television has done. Minus like maybe one cool.
Guys, keep in mind, he hasn't seen season 2 of Daredevil with the Punisher. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, but if your season 1 is mediocre at best, it doesn't make me want. I do want to see Daredevil. I think Daredevil is going to be great.
Just watch it.
I'm having a hard time getting through Daredevil season 1.
All right,
especially now that Arrow is so great.
All right, so anyway, Arrow is
Jason Inman. Please come on our show.
Arrow is a much better version of Iron Fist. So, the Titans announcement. I got so excited.
Yeah.
And I told you even off air, we almost had a discussion again off air that we should have had on air. But lately, since Wonder Woman, I've been very much in a DC mood. So I was already feeling pretty good. I'm not great at reading comics, but I do like to think about reading comics. I do like to scroll through Comixology and be like, that is something I'm interested in. But then I get overwhelmed and I chicken out. But
sometimes I'll browse a comic book store, and I actually agree with you. When I fully went into a comic book store not that long ago, expecting to be like, oh, I want to pick up some Marvel comics. Didn't care. I just walked right past.
By the way, overall, I'm done buying single issues. I can wait for the volume of 6. That's how I buy them, especially on Comixology. I don't want my collection to get bloated, so I'm not going to buy the individual. I can wait, buy the volumes. That way,
do they have DC on Comixology?
Yeah.
Okay, because obviously I know they don't have Marvel stuff.
Yeah, they do.
They have them to buy, but you can't get Marvel stuff on their subscription service. Their streaming, their subscription service where you pay a flat fee and you can read all the comic books you want. The Marvel comics are not available on that.
Comixology has both.
Marvel Unlimited.
I know Comixology has its own unlimited subscription.
Okay,
but it also
Kevin Marks is like,
but no, listen. Comixology does both. You can have the subscription, and then it kind of limits what you get, especially with Marvel.
Yeah,
but you can always buy Marvel comics on Comixology.
I know you can buy them there.
Oh, well,
I'm trying to get that flat fee. I'm trying to get that Spotify life.
All right, well, that's not what I thought you were talking about. So fair enough. But anyway. I've very much been in a DC mood lately. Playing Injustice certainly helps too. I was playing Injustice too. So anyway, this came out.
I thought you'd unplug your Xbox by now.
No.
Be more productive.
This news came out at the greatest time. And I don't know if I've talked about it before, but Nightwing was, from what I remember, one of the very first comics I read. I was very fascinated by Nightwing. I love Nightwing. I bought more Nightwing than I did Batman. And
it's a cool story.
Batman.
Yeah.
Something gravitated me towards him. And that was, I found him when I didn't even realize all the connections. I didn't realize who he was at the time when I bought it. I just liked reading his comics.
It's because he didn't have a cape. Capes are kind of lame.
That's true. So, but anyway, that's just my history. And I was always fascinated with Nightwing, and I love the character. So to see him come to the TV screen like this, especially when, like, I always wanted Teen Titans was always a cool idea to me, but it was never the way that it's been made. It's never been made for me yet. Like, because when it came out with the first cartoon that came out, I was already past watching cartoons.
Yeah,
actually, I would probably watch more cartoons now than I would back in my early teens or whenever it came out. But anyway, I always liked the idea of Teen Titans. I could just never get into it when I wanted to, especially like. That's where Deathstroke comes from. And I think Deathstroke is awesome. And you'll get to see him in Arrow.
Cool looking. I think Teen Titans is so much more interesting than Justice League. Justice League is boring as shit. When any team with Superman on it, you don't even need a team.
Superman's not even the leader of the Justice League. It's
I know.
Batman.
And
anyway.
Teen Titans are better.
All I'm saying is I am thrilled to death that this is happening. It can go either way. I would prefer to see it on the CW, but I mean, if there's any criticism that I have of CW shows, it's the cheese. So maybe this will be different. Maybe they can totally change it. Maybe it doesn't have any connection to the CW universe at all. Because
Marvel has its share of cheese. Yeah,
I know. Black Lightning, when it comes out, it's not going to be infused with the Flaro universe, so you never know. It could just be its own thing like that. So I'm all in on this. I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
At least to give it a taste, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it starts off like Arrow started off, I'm sold, son.
You sold, son?
I'm sold. That Apple Music subscription that I canceled,
it's gonna go towards WB or whatever.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I'll be watching me some Riverdale. I'll be watching some. What's another show they've got on there?
iZombie.
I already watch iZombie.
But why are we naming CW shows?
I'm just saying.
The CW shows aren't going to be.
What else is going to be on this thing?
I have no idea. Didn't they announce that they're planning 2 shows? I don't remember what the second one is, but obviously I was too preoccupied with Teen Titans.
Here's my biggest thing with this. Hopefully, if they're planning this sort of streaming service, then I think they need to utilize it. Like, let's go the extra mile. Maybe don't censor things as much. Maybe show some things that you can't show on the CW. Or you're not willing to show on CW, maybe some cursing. Maybe see some Black Canary boobies. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I wish they would stick with Hulu or Netflix if they were going to do this, though.
I know. Well,
Warner Brothers already has the deal with Netflix.
Look, man, the discussion we were talking about, Apple Music and exclusivity and stuff like that, our beloved movies and television, we're headed down that road.
I think
every issue you've seen with music is coming to the rest of the media landscape. I mean, you are going to have to choose in the future. Are you going to have enough money to have a subscription to every single studio that exists?
And this still may be the case. I mean, this might be the response to the Marvel and Netflix universe. But it would be even cooler if they had it on Netflix with the Marvel stuff.
That's
all I'm saying.
They need to do it just because, I mean, look, Marvel's owned by fucking Disney. There's nobody bigger than Disney. Just follow their lead. Just go with Hulu. It's fine. Or YouTube. Go with YouTube. That'd be cool, like a YouTube Red or something like that. Surprised they haven't.
Nah.
Look, I don't want it. I don't want YouTube Red, but you bet your sweet ass if they had the right properties on it, I'd be subscribing to it tomorrow.
Is that all we got?
I don't know. I figured I had more on this.
Yeah, me too.
We're
stoked.
Who do you know from Titans besides Nightwing?
Well, Beast Boy, Starfire.
Right. Wasn't Cyborg in?
Cyborg's, yeah, he's part of Teen Titans. But
who's the one with the hood? Raven or something like that?
Something like that. I can't remember.
I don't know anybody else.
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
as long as that Martian Manhunter's on there, he just
I could
stupid.
cheat and say, well, Kid Flash.
Oh yeah, that's
but
right.
Again, I mean, they talked about that on Heroes. What that's going to look like? Are they going to leave him out, or are they going to bring him over?
Is Kid Flash in the Flash?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Interesting. I've never been a huge fan of the Flash, the character in general.
You will be once you watch the show.
Okay. Is it the best of them?
Season 1 of The Flash is great.
Is it better than season 2 of Arrow, like you've proclaimed?
They're close. I think in terms of what satisfies me as a comic book fan, I think I would probably go with Arrow season 2. But I mean, in that Flash season 1 finale, I was fist pumping.
Oh yeah?
I was pumped. Yeah.
That's pretty dope. I'm excited too. You got anything else?
No. I think that wraps
let's
it
wrap
up.
this up. As soon as we get off here, I think we're recording another podcast, waiting for somebody to confirm with me. But nonetheless, guys, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at SightSoundPod. Find us on Facebook. We're trying to push Facebook really hard. We have a URL for that, right? Facebook.com/SightSoundPod. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
right.
the URL. Go ahead and like us there. Going to be doing a lot more stuff on Facebook. One thing that I want to do, and also on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube. A ton of great content on there. One thing that I want to do, and I think we sort of agree on this. I don't think we've talked about it, but we don't want social media to just be a place where you can find out what we've released. I want to eventually get to the point where we are creating content for specific social media outlets. We put out YouTube content, obviously, but like I want to make Facebook, I want to give you guys a reason to go to our Facebook page and our Twitter page and our Instagram page. We're doing a ton of stuff on Instagram right now. You talked about the song of the day. We're uploading just a lot of stuff, news bits and bites. So yeah, find us everywhere. That would be fantastic. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jaye Williams, J to the A to the Y to the E. It's the same for both. Ryan, where can they find you?
Thank you for getting me across that 1,000 followers threshold on Twitter.
And we broke 400 on YouTube.
Yeah, we did.
Marching to 500.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WhatUpSnell. And yeah, be on the lookout for Sight and Sound Facebook page. I think Facebook and Instagram are my two favorite social media outlets for, and that wasn't always the case, but I've seen some light, Jay, recently. So right now I want to push those primarily, and yeah, so definitely check us out there. And that's all I got. Make sure that you, by the way, if you're listening to us on the SK Plus YouTube channel on Wednesdays, just know that, Sight and Sound Podcast, the podcast feed is a thing as well. So go ahead and subscribe there because you don't get all of our Sight and Sound shows on SK Plus. So just be aware of that, and vice versa. If you listen to us via podcast form, but you're at home and you want to watch, you want to put something on the TV, you can find us on YouTube at the SK Plus YouTube channel. So we're everywhere.
We just went video on After Schmo 2 weeks in a row. People are going to start asking themselves, when is video coming for Sight and Sound Weekly? I'd say sooner rather than later. Why not?
Whenever that comes up, I would just continue to plug our t-shirts on
Absolutely.
sightsoundpod.com.
All right, we love you guys. Thank you so much. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right, we're out of here. Bye.